Right, New Orleans, welcome to the Jack Clegg Show here at WGSO. Listening to WGSO.com. You can hear the audio podcast and WGSO Live Jack Clegg video podcast. You can see it on YouTube. Just type in the Jack Clegg Show. You can watch me. Hey, how you doing? Anyway, boy, there's so much going on. Week after week, I say the same thing. It must be boring. There's so much going on, but there is. And so I've looked at a lot of things and have several different topics we want to talk about today. I had a guest scheduled today and unfortunately couldn't attend. So it is open phone line. And our phone number is 504-556-9696. That's 504-556-9696. Okay. And the first story we're going to talk about, the first topic that we're going to talk about is, we're all pieces of metal and Trump's a magnet. Whatever this guy does, it goes right to the front pages and it's on the news. And there's going to be two sides of the story. One is Trump's side of the story and the other is the media and the variety of political interests that are opposed to him on the other side. And that's a story in and of itself, or how things are covered. And we're going to get into that when we talk about later today. We're going to talk about the birthright citizenship decision, which was not a birthright citizenship decision at all, but we're going to talk about the case that the Supreme Court handed down, and Trump got a victory, but it actually was a victory that was, it was a lot to come. No matter which of the cases it was, it dealt more with the power of a federal judge to issue a nationwide injunction. And we're going to talk about that. But the first story I want to talk about is a story that it has so many different angles on it that it's hard to know exactly what the impact is going to be. And it's on Trump's tariffs. Okay. Now, I heard from a wonderful source that the Dow Jones average today, the stock market was up. Exploded up. And why? Well, I can think people are confident in America. They're confident about our military. They're confident about Donald Trump and how he worked his deal in Iran. They're also confident that although months ago, 2 months ago, 2 months and a half ago, there were all kinds of scare stories about tariffs and how much it was going to cause us all additional funds and so forth. Well, I'm going to report, the first story today is a report about what's going on in Canada and what just happened. We had the G7. Those of you who follow financing, the G7 are 7 countries, including the United States and Canada, that are like-minded in their approach to financial assistance for their countries, for their citizens, open trade, free markets. And prior to that, there was all kinds of speculation about what Donald Trump was going to do regarding tariffs in Canada. And I remember reading lots of stories about Trump citing a variety of circumstances in Canada, such as a 400% tariff. That is, the value of milk coming from U.S. dairy farmers was tariffed at a massive, massive amount because the Canadians wanted to protect their own milk and dairy industry. So they put on this massive tariff. Okay, so that's fine. So Trump, in return, said, well, if you don't want free trade, when your things come to the United States, we're going to put some high tariffs on. Okay. And that sort of took a backstage for a while as the Israeli-Iranian foreign policy issue. I mean, they were still having negotiations, but without Trump personally present, it wasn't quite the same. All right, the G7 came up a week and a half ago, and Trump was there. And apparently, things went pretty well, except toward the end, the Prime Minister of Canada said, well, we got to inform you that we're going to impose what's called a digital services tax. I've never heard that before. What's a digital services tax? This is one where Canada will impose a tax on companies that are considered tech giants, or they're considered companies that deal with all the consumers in Canada. Amazon, Google, Meta, Uber, Airbnb. These are big American-based companies that are expanding into Canada. All right. So Canada has said, well, we're going to impose a 3% tax on all revenue from Canadian users of these digital services companies. I don't know why Uber is considered that, but it's one of them. Same with Airbnb. But Amazon, Google, Meta, and there's a huge list. I'm only giving you the big ones. Okay. But here's the kicker. Not only is it a 3% tax on these companies, on all the revenue they take from Canada, but it also applies retroactively for a couple of years. So at the end of July, they're going to get a bill from the Canadian government, which they expect to be in excess of $2 billion. All right. Now, this is already in addition to the tariffs Canada still wants to impose. They still want to continue with their dairy farmer tariff. Okay. So this sounds an awful lot to me, an awful lot like what the EU tried to do. And it took a while, but Trump is getting them back off. But I think Canada thinks if it plays hardball with Trump, they can do better. Okay. So when they made that announcement, Trump said, talks are over. Bye-bye. I'm going home. He left the G7. Now, other reports say he left the G7 because of what was going on in Iran. But now that Iran has cooled down, they're focusing on the real reason he left, or that's what some journalists are saying. I don't know if we'll ever know the truth. But the idea now is that Trump left because of this tax that the Canadians want to impose on these U.S. companies. All right. And Trump said, talks are over. We're not going to talk to you at all. And he ordered all of the negotiations from the American side to end. All right. He then said, which is kind of interesting, he said, I will give them 7 days to change their minds. If they don't, I will then advise them the amount of tariffs we're going to impose on Canadian goods coming into America. Does that sound familiar? It sounds an awful lot like giving Iran 60 days to change its position on its nuclear future. And we all remember what happened when the 61st day came around. So now, this morning, as I was understanding, the U.S. markets were high. This story broke about why Trump actually left, and we'll see on Monday. But Right now, we got to take a break. We'll be back and call in. And the phone number is 504-556-9696. We'll be back in a few moments.
In baseball, these are the moments that bring us to our feet.
But the most important moment happens when we all stand together,
united for a great cause.
So join Major League Baseball and stand up to cancer
as we stand in honor of all loved ones affected by this disease.
I'm Jordana Brewster.
I'm Candace Patton.
Joe Manganello.
I'm Matt Damon, and cancer has in some way touched all of us.
Visit standuptocancer.org/MLB.
Stand up with us.
Hi, this is Susan Berniker bringing you a new show, Health Connections, every Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. when we explore health from doctors, researchers, scientists, naturopaths, pharmacists, authors, fitness, and more. You'll be able to call in and ask your own health questions. So join me, Susan Berniker, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. right here on WGSO 990 AM with Health Connections.
Hey guys, this is Lisa Leonardi, the host of the new show Live with Lisa Unscripted, every Monday at 4 p.m. drive time here on WGSO.
Broadcasting from deep within the Louisiana Purchase, beneath spacious skies, overlooking the fruited plain, and smack dab in the land of the free. The American Ground Radio program with Louis R. Abalone and Stephen Parr, where freedom grows. Listen each weeknight from 7 to 9 p.m. with Louis R. Abalone and Stephen Parr here on WGSO 990 AM.
Hey, Mimi, we love Wednesdays, but we're moving to a new time.
Listen to He Said, She Said, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
right here on WGSO.
Hi, gang. This here's Uncle Jackie from Uncle Jackie's Gumbo. Heard here each and every Sunday live at 5 on WGSO 990 on the AM Don Wallace and WGSO.com. Join us each week as we interview musicians, writers, actors, and artists. Everyone's welcome to Uncle Jackie's Gumbo, Sundays live at 5 on WGSO.com and WGSO 990 on the AM Don Wallace. Uncle Jackie's Gumbo.
Hey, this is BJ Russ. Make sure you join me every Saturday night for the Something to Say radio show right here on WGSO 990 AM. We'll be on from 7 to 8 p.m. We'll talk sports, music, movies, and pretty much anything in between. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM. That's the place to be. And don't forget that you can listen to us on WGSO.com and on the Mixler app.
I'm Richard Bienvenu. Join me every Monday at 5 p.m. Whether you're a local or just love New Orleans, this is your show. That's Completely New Orleans on WGSO.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. This is WGSO.com calling in, and you can listen to us on radio or on your laptop at WGSO.com, or you can listen to us and watch us on YouTube on the Jack Clegg Show. Okay, so the last segment we talked about was, again, Trump, and the conversation was, what are we going to do with Canada? And apparently they have reached a situation where Trump and our team has left the negotiations, and he said, I'll let you know in 7 days. We'd like you to change your mind on what you're doing. This sounds awful like the same negotiating tactic he used with Iran. Guys, give up your nukes or we might do something. And kind of everybody knew that something might happen. But the Iranians thought Trump might blink, I guess. And they were wrong. Okay, another story that on the topic of those of us that are alive today, and I'm not speaking to the dead right now because I don't do that, but this is one of the most exciting times. If you're a political junkie or a news junkie at all, this is wonderful. I mean, every day something new comes up. And part of what makes it so exciting was in the prior 4 years, I had this feeling. I don't know whether you did. I don't know if anybody else did. But I had this feeling that I would say, what's going on? And again, because I was keeping attention on what was happening in Washington, and I knew, because I'd reported on this show, that after October of 2023, that entire year, 2024, that Biden was president, they didn't have a cabinet meeting. Now, a cabinet meeting for the president, if you look at it in a corporate standpoint, he's the CEO, okay? But he's got all these different branches of the company. Well, the guys who lead all those branches of the company would, in politics, be the cabinet leaders, the secretaries, and not to have a meeting throughout from October 23rd or October 2023 until the end of 2024. People can say, well, we saw him fall down, we saw this, we saw that. Okay, those could have been momentary. But the fact that he wasn't doing any other job was strong evidence to me. The other fact is, okay, now people write books about the Biden administration. They're, saying, we should have reported better. But still, the number one issue is if Biden wasn't doing it, if he wasn't making the decisions to lead the country, who was? Okay. One thing I find really interesting, which is good. I was at a political meeting a couple of days ago, and it was mostly conservatives, and there were many people who were upset that Pam Bondi, our Department of Justice head, okay, the actual head of our federal legal system, was not doing enough. And I was very, very impatient with that kind of criticism. I think she's doing a terrific job. And one of the things we're going to talk about, not in this segment, but in a little while, is how powerful this tactic that the left has been using in the first 100 days since Trump became president. Okay, and what is the tactic? Well, it occurred a few times during the Biden administration. So the Republicans can't blame the Democrats because the Republicans kind of invented it. And they did it a couple of times. And this is the scenario. The scenario is that the president wants to do something and he can't really get it passed, so he makes an executive order. And the executive order sets forth a policy. Okay. Now, those people who don't like it have a variety of things to do. And one of the techniques that they've used is a universal injunction. What is that? When I was in law school, there was no such thing. It wasn't. When a party, John Smith, came in against Alcoa Aluminum, and John Smith said, your Alcoa factory, your aluminum factory is hurting me in some way, and I'm going to file an injunction or seek an injunction against you to stop doing it. Okay, so the court would decide, and they might be able to shut down that aluminum place because John Smith lived right nearby, and it might have been hurting him. Okay. What a universal injunction would be is John Smith going to the court saying they're doing this stuff. I want you to shut down all of the aluminum factories throughout the United States. Well, nobody ever did that. But it started during the Biden administration on some policy issues. Well, during Trump's first 100 days, now we all know he signed a lot of executive orders. There's a lot of work going on, a lot of changes, a lot of new policies. We're going to talk about a couple of those today. But when he would do those things, there would be groups, organizations going to a particular judge in a particular location requesting an injunction stopping the White House from imposing the policies that were contained in an executive order the president had just signed. And during the first 100 days, there were 25 of these injunctions issued. I mean, this was the means to get Trump, or to stop Trump from putting forward his policies. And it was reported, but not most, and if people weren't lawyers, they probably didn't realize what the significance of. But what essentially it did was, we have three branches of government, and it was giving a veto to individual members of one of the branches of government. An individual federal court judge in a location was entering a court order stopping the White House from enforcing policies that had been signed as executive orders by the court. Okay, so we're gonna talk about that in a bit. But what the courts have done in the 100 days, one of the things, and again, we're going to talk about the birthright citizenship. It's a big issue. We're going to talk about that decision, but there have been some others that have been terrific for conservative values. And we're going to get back to those after we take a break, and we'll get to our caller when we come back after the break. This is Jack Clegg Show. We'll be back in a few moments.
Pet Shop and Rescue is a non-profit volunteer-run rescue. We provide adoption services and care for homeless animals across the New Orleans metro area. We also offer pet supplies and grooming services at our downtown and Marigny locations. The shops are located at 839 Spain Street and 513 Dumaine Street and are open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays and noon to 6 on Saturdays, noon to 5 on Sundays. We can be found on the web at BigEasyPetShop.com. Support local animals in need by shopping and adopting with Big Easy Animal Rescue.
This is Kate Delaney from America Tonight. The show kicks on at midnight, and I'm loving the overwhelming support in New Orleans. What a group of fantastic listeners here on WGSO 990 AM. Join me every morning to catch up on what I call the buzz in your backyard and mine. You'll hear some of the most interesting people on the planet from the world of business, politics, sports, and, well, just intriguing people with a story to tell. If you're around, give us a call. Don't worry, I'll spit out the number plenty of times on the air. Let's agree to meet at midnight right here on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans.
Hello, this is David Jeremiah. Join me each weekday morning at 4:30 or 5:30 a.m. for Turning Point on the community voice of the Crescent City WGSO.
I'm pet friendologist Charlotte Reed. Listen to the Pet Buzz airing every Saturday at 6 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM, the community voice of the Crescent City.
Hi, this is Rusty, owner of the Olive Branch Cafe. Join me on Tuesdays at 4 for the Best Bank Hour on WGSO 990.
Make a difference in the community. Join the JPSO family. The Jefferson Parish Sheriff's Office is recruiting candidates for our July 2025 Police Academy. If you are a recent graduate, former military, or someone looking for a new career where you can make a difference, join the Academy and learn the academic and tactical skills to protect and serve. Application deadline for the July Academy is March 21st, so don't wait. Join the JPSO family. Visit jpsojobs.com today.
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Colleen Crane.
LSU running back Trey Holly is facing another delay after his July 7th court date was canceled due to a broken air conditioning system in the courtroom. His attorney, Mike Small, says the AC system needs to be replaced.
Temperatures in the last
week or so in the courtroom that we would have to try the case in reached 99 degrees Fahrenheit.
He says Hawley, who has been steadfast in his innocence and awaiting trial, was understandably upset by the unforeseen delay. And the U.S. Supreme Court postponed ruling on Louisiana's congressional redistricting plan until next term. The Supreme Court hearing stems from a lawsuit from 12 non-African American voters who alleged reconfigured majority black districts were racial gerrymandering, a stance Loyola University law professor Dane Cialino says Justice Clarence Thomas agreed with.
He thinks that using the Voting Rights Act to create a black majority district in Louisiana violates the Equal Protection Clause of the United States Constitution.
LRN.
Feeling overwhelmed? Louisiana 988 can provide immediate emotional support. You can share as much or as little as you want with specialists. Everything you say stays between you and them. It's free, available 24/7, and most people who reach out report feeling better right in the moment. Call or text 988 anytime.
Fentanyl is being used to make fake prescription pills. Assume any prescription pills you see online are fake, including Oxy, Adderall, and Xanax. To help prevent opioid overdose, naloxone is available over the counter through pharmacies, and many community service organizations have naloxone and fentanyl testing strips for free. Be prepared, carry naloxone, and know the signs of an overdose. If you or a loved one needs help or resources, go to opioidhelpla.org, brought to you by the Louisiana Department of Health.
A powerful threat calls for a great response. Not tomorrow. Not in a few years. Not right now. Some battles must be faced together. Cancer fighters stand up with cancer everywhere, and you can be part of this battle too.
Visit standuptocancer.org to learn more.
Together, we can say.
Are you looking for the perfect personalized gift for your friends and loved ones? Then look no further than Crow and Crescent. Crow and Crescent provides customizable handmade gifts, tumbler cups, and much more. All items are handmade with care and can be gift wrapped with personalized messages. For more information, you can find us at crowandcrescent.com and on Instagram. Crow and Crescent, let us show you the right gift for any occasion.
Chef Jamie Gwen here. Tune in for delicious conversation and let me feed your soul every Sunday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on WGSO 990 AM, the community voice of the Crescent City.
You might be afraid to speak out for fear of cancel culture or losing your job. Christian Garrick Show on WGSO is your platform. Noon to 2 weekdays right here on 990 AM WGSO.
Don't get stuck in boring talk radio. Give it a much-needed splash of laughs and a little Southern Louisiana flavor. The Implicit Bias Radio Show, every Saturday morning, 7 to 9 a.m. on WGSO 990 AM.
What does grace mean to you? At Grace of the Green Light, a 501c3 nonprofit, we believe that everyone deserves a hot meal, clean drinking water, and the chance to go home again. Our work is made possible through the generous support of Emery and James Limited, an independent insurance agent serving Covington, Hammond, and Metairie, Louisiana. Emery and James, serving our community for generations. Learn more at emeryjames.com.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. And we have a caller who is one of our callers every Friday. Matthew, come in. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, Jack. How are you?
I'm well. What can we do for you today?
Well, while you're talking about injunctions and Supreme challenges to executive orders, there's two things that a lot of the challenges to the Biden executive orders were based on.
Okay.
One was the Administrative Procedures Act.
Yes.
And the other was the Incorporations Clause, otherwise known as the 14th Amendment.
Okay.
And we were able to get a secure stays based on those for a lot of the things that Joe Biden, a lot of the things Pizarro Pen was doing.
Right.
The challenges to immigration laws, I don't think they use that particular reasoning, because I think Donald Trump actually followed the Administrative Procedures Act.
Right. Just so the audience will know, the APA, or the Administrative Procedure Act, there are two key words. We have in our executive branch, we have various agencies, and they are in many ways considered administrative agencies that are pursuing the policies that the president is stating. Whether it's this president or a former one or Congress or whomever, the APA is the body, or the the Administrative Procedures Act is the law that has these administrative bodies follow some kind of logic, reasoning, and
allow public input.
And yes, that there's before this is not during, but before they even pass a policy, they're supposed to have public input. And the two things that are the death knell to any orders issued by those agencies are if the policy is arbitrary or capricious. Those are the two words that are the death knell to agency action. So when there's lawsuits, what the challengers try to find out is, how did you come up with this reasoning? How did you come up with this? And if they prove that there were aspects of the procedure which did not involve, as you just pointed out, public comment, public participation, or if they didn't really use expert advice, then the APA could be used, and it was used. You remember the Chevron case was overturned during the Biden administration?
I do remember that. I remember thinking to myself, well, this is it. This is, this will help us severely limit the power of the federal government on commerce. And all the oil companies were like, oh no, this means that we'll have to fight. Oh no, that's worrisome.
So the audience will know. So the audience will know and follow. Many do, but if they don't, the Chevron decision essentially allowed the agencies, let's say Department of Energy or whatever it had to be, allowed them to utilize some of the expert testimony given by the oil companies and others, so they could essentially make a legal decision. And they're not supposed to do that. They aren't supposed to do that. And that case, Chevron lasted, I think it was in 75 or 76 when it came out, and it gave the decision of the administrative agency almost a judicial ranking. It made it really, really significant decision. And Chevron said, no. Well, I'm sorry. The case that overturned Chevron said, no, that's not it. Things change, and people can challenge this all the time. And that's, I think, what you're probably getting at right now. Then it is the public's ability to get to the administrative agencies and say, wait a minute, you can't do this. And that's an area of law that's going to be growing, I think, for the next 25 years. It's a huge area.
Right. And as far as I know, the incorporation is anything that is incorporated as a right under the Bill of Rights, such as free speech, such as the right to keep and bear arms, is incorporated. In other words, the challenges to all of the various NFA items and arbitrary procedures that the NFA inflicted on the firearms industry.
Sure.
Challenge under that date.
Yes.
And we did get stays, but there were local stays. In other words, I think the 5th Judicial District said, this is BS, you can't do this.
Right.
In the 5th District. Or
You're talking about the Fifth Circuit here in New Orleans, the federal Fifth Circuit. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
Right. And which is kind of absurd, but that meant that you could have a pistol break in Louisiana, but if you went to, say, Georgia with it, you now had a short barrel rifle, you felon. So,
right.
But there is no right immigrant to the United States. It is not in the Constitution.
Well, you're right, and that's accurate. The part I wasn't sure where you were going to go exactly with the point, because these universal. But let me just back up a second, and it needs some background. The decision that you're going to hear about, and you heard about it this morning, and you're going to hear about it all weekend long, is the Supreme Court granted the Trump administration's challenge to 3 nationwide injunctions that were in place. And these 3 nationwide injunctions said no one in the White House administration can do anything to pursue the policy that was contained in executive order. I don't know what the exact number was, but the executive order issued, I think, the first or the second day Trump took over, which defined who could get birthright citizenship. Now, and this is the greatest thing ever, and it's a great example of the media and a great example of how the media lies about things. Trump didn't say, I'm doing away with birthright citizenship. That's not what that order was. That was not the order at all. And I want to get to that in a few minutes. I think we got to take a break. I don't want to get deep into it. But the notion that the tactic that has been used has been these nationwide injunctions issued by judges in, it doesn't matter what state they're in, they issue it, okay, and Trump and the administration has to follow it. They don't ignore it. They don't say, oh, screw them, they're in Montana, they don't know what they're talking about, I'll do what I want to do. Oh, no. Those things are binding. When you think about America and you think about how our legal system works, our White House has to respond to a federal judge's enjoining them from doing the policy that they want to do. I mean, that's a big deal. So the decision that we're talking about in this case, there are actually 3 cases were joined together on birthright citizenship, and I'll explain what exactly we're talking about. That case didn't really deal with birthright citizenship. It dealt with the ability of a court to enjoin the federal government through the White House from doing something. When you go to court, as I said before, when Mr. Jones goes to sue Alcoa Aluminum, Mr. Jones can get the relief. He's not asking for a relief for everyone in America like these were. Okay, we're going to take a break. If you want to hold on, that's fine. This is a Jack Clegg Show. We'll be back in a few moments.
For the perfect personalized gift for your friends and loved ones, then look no further than Crow & Crescent. Crow & Crescent provides customizable handmade gifts, tumbler cups, and much more. All items are handmade with care and can be gift wrapped with personalized messages. For more information, you can find us at crowancrescent.com and on Instagram. Crow and Crescent, let us show you the right gift for any occasion.
Hi, this is Susan Bernicker bringing you a new show, Health Connections, every Wednesday afternoon at 5 p.m. Doctors, researchers, authors, and more. Join me Wednesdays at 5 o'clock right here on WGSO 990 AM.
Listen each weeknight from 7 to 9 p.m. with Louis R. Avalone and Stephen Parr here on WGSO 990 AM.
Hey folks, this is Jeff Cruere. Join me in the mornings from 7 to 9 a.m. and in the evenings from 6 to 7 p.m. right here on WGSO 990 a.m. for Ringside Politics with a Punch. We're going to bring you great guests, discuss the latest hot topics, and of course, take your phone calls. Monday morning, Orleans Parish Sheriff's candidate Edwin Shorty joins us. He'll tell us his vision for the troubled parish prison. And then in the evening, we'll talk to commentator Ringside All-Star Josh Bernstein. All that and more right here on Ringside Politics from 7 to 9 in the morning and 6 to 7 in the evening on WGSO.
Tired of placing multiple calls to multiple vendors and getting the runaround? Turn to one resource who can get it done. Sir Speedy. We provide a wide spectrum of print, signs, and marketing services, all backed by more than 5 decades of experience. So when you need that new brochure, direct marketing campaign, or signage to promote your brand, give us a call at 504-586-9812 or visit us online at SirSpeedyNewOrleans.com. Everything you need, one resource, Sir Speedy.
Hi, everybody. This is Jackie Gumbo. I'm inviting you to join me every Sunday at 5 p.m. for Uncle Jackie's Gumbo, heard only on WGSO 990 AM or WGSO.com.
Hey, this is BJ Russ. Make sure you join me every Saturday night for Something to Say radio show right here on WGSO 990 AM. We'll be on from 7 to 8 p.m. We'll talk sports, music, movies, and pretty much anything in between. Saturday nights at 7 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM. That's the place to be. And don't forget that you can listen to us on WGSO.com and on the Mixler app.
Loathe to cook or just love food? Then Chew On This is your new go-to. Join me and Don Clement for mouth-watering recipes, kitchen hacks, and tasty food talk. Tune in at our new time, Saturdays at 2 p.m., and satisfy your cravings. Don't miss a bite, only on WGSO or online at WGSO.com.
All right, New Orleans. Welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. And breaking news. I'm not laughing because it's a laughing matter. It's just I was watching we have a television here in the studio, and during the commercial break, they broke into whatever the station was talking, and they're having a live report from Holly Grove. Holly Grove is a neighborhood. It's not too far from downtown. It's not too far from uptown and north of the Garden District, north of uptown. And they have captured number 9, right? Out of the 10 escapees, 8 had been captured, and the 9th, Antoine Massey, was just captured in Holly Grove. He had run from somewhere to somewhere, and apparently they got him in someone's house, and it wasn't clear. I don't believe that he, according to what we watched for about 80 seconds, I don't believe he was staying there. I believe he ran onto the property, and that's where the police got him. But when you're going to continue to listen to my show, and when my show is over, then you can watch the other news. I'm joking. But so at least they have 9. There's one guy still out there. So I wonder if the people at that house are going to ask for the money. It's a lot of money now, right? It's over $15,000, the reward. I would. All right. So let's get back to what the topic was. And we were talking about these nationwide injunctions and how the Trump decision just came out. And I'm going to go in a little bit greater detail on that. But Matthew, Is that one of the things that you've been following?
No, I don't know any. I don't get any local news at all because for reasons that perplex me to this day. I told Google I don't want to get any news from CNN, so don't give me any news at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go.
So give me archaeology today, and that's interesting. Here's a development in archaeology that you probably didn't know anything about.
That's always a good thing.
Saudi Arabia is allowing archaeology.
That's good. I'm sure they've got some old stuff that scientists and researchers would like to find out about. Good for them.
Oh, yes, there's a lot of really fascinating stuff that people are getting their hands on. They're filling in sections of the Bible. They're like, oh,
right,
wait, this is where that happened.
Yes.
So.
Well, again, I have to say the reason all this is happening because of Donald Trump opening up the Middle East to Western, how should I say it?
Influence?
Well, partly influence, that's a good word for it, but let's say Western practice. By practice, I mean, in the West, I mean, just imagine, okay, in Iran, in Iraq, in all the Muslim countries, there was never a real push to save tablets and to save artifacts and to report them, even though this was in their neighborhood.
Well, according to the very strictest Muslim Brotherhood interpretation of the Quran, that is haram.
What do you mean by that? I don't follow you.
In other words, it's forbidden under.
Oh, okay. Well, then that explains.
You read the Quran the same way as the Muslim Brotherhood.
Right. So it's better to keep our people ignorant than have them know what we possess and what it might mean. Of course.
Well, yeah, because if archaeology contradicts what's in the Quran, well, you know, that's a real problem because
that's true.
The Muslim Brotherhood views the Quran as a literal transcription from Muhammad onto paper.
Sure.
Even though it didn't happen that way.
Sure.
From the Archangel Gabriel.
Right. Well, my point that I was making is Western practice would not be that way. However, we know that here in America, there are still many new finds. Why didn't we find them here in America over the last 120 years when, you know, archaeologists have been free to do that? We find all kinds of artifacts in the East. We find all kind in the West, rather, the western part of the United States, but even along our Atlantic seaboard, we find all kinds of artifacts. I find that very interesting. But let me get back. Okay, go ahead.
Penetrating radar and side scanning sonar.
Yes, that helps. It makes it a lot easier. That's for sure. Anyway, I want to get back to the topic that we want to talk about, and that is hold on a second. We're almost through with our program for the first hour. We got to take a break, and then we take a news break and so forth. But when we come back, we're going to talk for the first and second segments. What's that? Yeah, we have, right. We're going to talk about this decision, and the case has several different names. We're going to call it Trump versus Casa Inc. And this is the case, and I'm going to go through and make a kind of a deep dive on it, on what exactly was before the Supreme Court. The decision, I will show those people, who are watching on YouTube, this right here, all this paper is one decision. It's the decision. Not all, several of the justices wrote their own opinions on a variety of different factors. However, there was a 6-3 majority, and the 6-3 majority said President Trump is correct, and his DOJ is correct, that you cannot use a nationwide injunction to stop policy. You just can't do it. And that an injunction is designed as a matter of equity in our federal court system. An injunction is designed to prevent somebody from adversely affecting the plaintiff in the case, the person who comes forward. Now, in these cases, the plaintiff wasn't the entire United States. The plaintiff wasn't every person, every immigrant, every possible birthright citizen person. They were not the plaintiffs in the case. In the 3 cases that were merged, because they all involved the same issue, there were multiple organizations, people in favor of immigrants having U.S. citizenship rights and so forth and so on. They would be affected, but you couldn't affect the White House from having its policy imposed everywhere. And that's what the decision actually results in. But what's interesting in it, in the language that I'll read to you after the break when we come back at the 5 o'clock hour, what's interesting is the position was taken by the losers, those liberals on the bench who kind of ignored the rationale that was used by the Supreme Court, and that is, wait a minute, we're not going to even entertain this because there is no such thing as this universal injunction. Okay, we're going to get to all that when we take a break. The Jack Clegg Show will be back at about 5:04. Back in a few minutes.
For retirement online. Estimate your future benefits, apply for retirement, and manage your benefits all from the comfort of your home. And give yourself the freedom to do what you want offline. Social Security's online services help put you in control with secure access to your information anytime, anywhere, allowing you to spend more time with family, friends, or simply just enjoying the day. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow. See what you can do online at socialsecurity.gov.
Are you looking for the perfect personalized gift for your friends and loved ones? Then look no further than Crow & Crescent. Crow & Crescent provides customizable handmade gifts, tumbler cups, and much more. All items are handmade with care and can be gift wrapped with personalized messages. For more information, you can find us at crowandcrescent.com and on Instagram. Crow & Crescent, let us show you the right gift for any occasion.
Hey folks, it's Jeff Cruier. I've been with WGSO for 17 years as host and now president and general manager. WGSO is a community-based radio station, a nonprofit, locally operated. We believe in cultivating local talent and emphasizing local programs. If you have an interest in hosting your own program, then we have some prime spots available for you. Take advantage of this great offer. Email me at jeff@wgso.com or call me at 504-669-6076. Come fulfill your radio dreams at WGSO.
Hey, do you ever wonder who really listens to talk radio? Or even, who is this new Lisa and why are we going live with her? And what does it mean to be unscripted? Hey guys, my name is Lisa Leonardi and I am the new talk show host of Live with Lisa Unscripted. My show is about living our unique NOLA life with a touch of inappropriateness and a ton of side-splitting laughs to get you home every Monday at 4 p.m. here on WGSO 990 AM.
Join me, BJ Rust, every Saturday night at 7 p.m. for the Something to Say radio show right here on WGSO 990 AM, New Orleans, Louisiana.
Social Security is with you through life. Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet your needs and is committed to improving access to the services that make a difference.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Trump administration has won a major legal victory at the Supreme Court. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
Justices ruled that individual judges lack the authority to grant nationwide injunctions, effectively blocking presidential executive orders. It's a big win for Donald Trump, whose agenda has faced multiple roadblocks from district judges. But the 6-3 Supreme Court ruling did not address the constitutionality of the president's restrictions on birthright citizenship. He wants to deny citizenship to U.S.-born children of people who are in the country illegally. Greg Clugston, the White House.
President Trump says the judges who were granting nationwide injunctions were throwing up obstacles to his agenda.
I was elected on a historic mandate, but in recent months we've seen a handful of radical left judges effectively try to overrule the rightful powers of the president.
Texas's Attorney General is praising a Supreme Court ruling upholding a state law aimed at blocking children from seeing pornography online. Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton said Friday companies have no right to expose children to pornography and must institute reasonable age verification measures. A lawyer says the Supreme Court's ruling that Maryland parents who have religious objections can pull their children from public school lessons using LGBTQ storybooks is a historic victory for parental rights. Lawyer Eric Baxter says kids shouldn't be forced into conversations about drag queens or gender transitions without their parents' permission. On Wall Street, record days with the Dow up by 432 points, the Nasdaq rose 105, the S&P advanced 32. More at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Third day. The original members reunited for the 30th anniversary tour, playing all the hits. A miracle. With special guest Zach Williams. Tickets available now at awakeningfoundation.com. Third day, the 30th anniversary tour.
You just call my name.
An Awakening Foundation event.
Here's the Wall Street Business Report.
For stocks rising to all-time highs today, just months after plunging on worries about tariffs. Dow gained 432 points at 43,819. S&P 500 ahead 30 at 6171, and the Nasdaq was up 105 at 10,273. Elsewhere, President Trump immediately suspending trade talks with Canada. That over plans to continue with its tax on technology firms. The digital services tax will hit companies with a 3% levy on revenue from Canadian users. Washington and Beijing have signed a key trade agreement. U.S. says it will make it easier for American firms to obtain magnets and rare earth minerals from China. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Jason Walker.
News and analysis at townhall.com.
We're getting into weather pattern, and it's going to be strong storms. Although it won't be raining all the time, there'll be a good number of spots that will get rains, potentially heavy, with many sunny breaks through the weekend. 90-ish each afternoon before and after the storms. Early evening storms taper off and mostly quiet overnight, except for offshore and along the coast. Morning 30% goes to 80% for the afternoon tomorrow. 70s to 80 go to a high of near 90. Good chance Sunday, same for Monday and Tuesday of next week. Ralph Sanji, WGSO.
Wounded Warrior Project helps post 9/11 veterans and their families realize what's possible with support and resources that bring warriors together and empower them to become stronger, both inside and out.
It's possible to begin healing,
to get the help you need, to find peace. And as each warrior's needs evolve, so do we, because these last 20 years are just the beginning. Learn more at woundedwarriorproject.org/possible.
The views and opinions expressed during this show are those of the host and guests only. In no way do they represent the views, positions, or opinions expressed or implied of WGSO 990 AM or North Shore Radio Incorporated.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. The first hour ran by very quickly. It was a lot quicker for us to get through that hour than Mr. Massey to get through the House. He got interrupted. He got caught. And we're referring to the fact that during the first segment of our show, number 9, the 9th of the 10 people who escaped from the Orleans Parish criminal jail got caught, Mr. Massey. Okay. All right. What we're going to talk about, we're going to go a little deep dive into it. I hope if you're interested, you call in. Maybe there's something you could add to it if you've read the decision. The decision has been out all day today. The phone number is 504-556-9696. Okay. Here's the case. There were 3 cases brought by people who thought that Donald Trump's executive order seeking to be charitable. The executive order sought to explain a part of the 14th Amendment that isn't really explained well. Okay. And by that, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about what it says. The 14th Amendment of the Constitution, it actually was issued after the Civil War, and it was kind of trying to decide who our citizens are. We had a lot of slaves in the country, former slaves were released. Who's a citizen, who's not, so forth and so on. They put the 14th Amendment together. Okay, this is the language that we will be talking about today. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. Okay, that's pretty simple. Born or naturalized in the U.S. And, it's more than just being born here or naturalized. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, that's going to be the key. Are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. I'll repeat it again. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. Okay. So, that has been called birthright citizenship. And people have used that in a variety of ways. I can remember, I had a show a couple of years ago, and then I was away from radio for a couple of years, but I remember it was during Trump's first term, and stories came out about people from Asia who had money. They came here with temporary visas, maybe it's a 1 week or 2 week visa to visit or do something. And what happened is when they traveled from their country to the United States, and it was happening a lot in Florida, the women that were coming were pregnant. Not only were they pregnant, they were a lot pregnant. When they got here, they immediately had babies. And because the baby was born here, they believed, and people argued, that they were indeed U.S. citizens. What happened to them? Well, they got U.S. citizenship papers, their parents' Social Security, whatnot. So it costs a lot of money to do this, but now you have a child somewhere in Asia who is a U.S. citizen, according to a reading of the 14th Amendment, which says all persons born in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. But hold it. What does that mean? And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Okay. There were cases that talked about this that really never went very far. Most people just think that if you're born here, no matter who your parents are, you're a U.S. citizen. Well, that gives that parent or whatever other family members, whatever, a certain argument. You can't deport me. What am I going to do with my son or daughter? They're a U.S. citizen. Okay. So Donald Trump looks at this situation, and we all know, and many Americans know that the last 4 years have been a complete debacle. We have let in more illegal aliens from all over the world. Okay, and so when they get here, if they have a child, that child is a U.S. citizen, according to what people had thought the 14th Amendment provided. Okay, and there are huge organizations that are supporting illegal aliens. If you don't think so, go back and look at what happened during the last 4 years. How did all these people come up from South America, Latin America? They were talking about 40,000 people at a time. They didn't do it for free. People were giving them money. People were giving them food. People were taking care of them. People were sending them to America. What their reasoning was, I'm not going to get into right now, but they got in. Okay? So now this is a way to have them stay in. The woman has a baby. Okay? So they're the parents of a U.S. citizen. They're going to argue to some judge, you can't send me back to Guatemala or Arabia or wherever I came from. I have a U.S. citizen child. Okay. That was the argument. Trump, when he took over and he won the first day, he signed an executive order which answered that question. What question is that, Jack? The question was, what does it mean to be born in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof? Well, by executive order, Donald Trump explained what that means. Here's what the executive order says about that language, and that's what these lawsuits are all about. When a person's mother's presence in the U.S. was lawful, but temporary, and the father was not a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident at the time of the birth. Okay? That's one person who doesn't become a U.S. citizen. When the person's mother's presence in the U.S. was lawful but temporary. Okay, that means a person who had a visa to be here for 2 weeks and gave birth during that 2 weeks because they wanted to create a U.S. citizen, and then that was it. And neither the mother or the father were U.S. citizens. They're not subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. What does that mean? Well, that means if the U.S. goes to war and we decide to draft people 18 years and older, this guy can't get drafted. Okay, so there's some advantages. The other part, when a person's mother was unlawfully present in the U.S. and the father was not a U.S. citizen or permanent resident at the time of said person's birth. So, pretty clear. What he's saying is if you came here illegally, you were not here lawfully, and you had a baby, okay, that baby is not subject to the jurisdiction. You're not here lawfully. That was what Trump's executive order said. That's what this entire case is about. People want to say, no, he can't do that. He can't make that up. He can't explain what subject to the jurisdiction is. That's just not fair. Okay, so what did the Supreme Court do? They heard the case, And they didn't answer the question of whether this executive order is valid or not. That's not what they decided. They said that the means by which the challenge took place, i.e., the universal injunctions that were issued by 3 different judges, those are invalid. Which means the people who sued in those jurisdictions can still do so. It doesn't mean that it's over. Now, Trump is taking great, and he should be proud, because these universal injunctions were not very, very American. Not very American. You can't take somebody from the judicial branch and have them have a veto over the president. Anyway, okay, we got to take a break. We'll be back in a few moments with Jack Clegg Show.
Personalized gift for your friends and loved ones? Then look no further than Crow and Crescent. And Crow and Crescent provides customizable handmade gifts, tumbler cups, and much more. All items are handmade with care and can be gift wrapped with personalized messages. For more information, you can find us at crowandcrescent.com and on Instagram. Crow and Crescent, let us show you the right gift for any occasion.
Big Easy Pet Shop and Rescue is a non-profit volunteer-run rescue. We provide adoption services and care for homeless animals across the New Orleans metro area. We also offer pet supplies and grooming services at our downtown and Marigny locations. The shops are located at 839 Spain Street and 513 Dumaine Street and are open from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. weekdays and noon to 6 on Saturdays, noon to 5 on Sundays. We can be found on the web at BigEasyPetShop.com. Support local animals in need by shopping and adopting with Big Easy Animal Rescue.
Listen each weeknight from 7 to 9 p.m. with Louis R. Avalone and Stephen Parr here on WGSO 990 AM.
Load to cook or just load food? Then Chew On This is your new go-to. Join me and Don Clement for mouth-watering recipes, kitchen hacks, and tasty food talk. Tune in at our new time, Saturdays at 2 p.m. and satisfy your cravings. Don't miss a bite, only on WGSO or online at WGSO.com.
When the time came, I knew I had to find a place where Mom would be safe and active while still feeling independent. A place that was close to all of us and everything she needed. Locally owned and operated in the heart of Gonzales, I found Francois Ben's Senior Living. They specialize in independent and assisted living and memory care.
Call 225-647-BEND for more information on our special pre-leasing offers.
Francois Ben's Senior Living. Experience life as it should be.
Hi, I'm Pat Schooler. One of the things I love about Louisiana is its beautiful natural landscapes and its unique sceneries. Let's preserve it. Please don't trash Louisiana with propane cylinders that are no longer certified. Bring these cylinders to your propane dealer so that they may dispose of them safely. Be a saint, and let's keep Louisiana beautiful.
This safety message is brought to you by the Louisiana Liquefied Petroleum Gas Commission and the Louisiana Propane Industry.
I'm Richard Bienvenu. Join me every Monday at 5 p.m. whether you're a local or just love New Orleans. This is your show. That's Completely New Orleans on WGSO.
Hey, Nene, we love Wednesdays, but we're moving to a new time.
Listen to He Said, She Said, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
Right here on WGSO.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. And we're talking about the decision recently made by the Supreme Court. And Andrew's still on hold. Is Andrew still holding? Matthew. I'm going to say Andrew. That's his brother. Matthew.
I can identify as Andrew if you would like.
Well, I thought that was your brother. And Matthew Andrews, same thing. All right. Any comments on the analysis so far?
I think you've about covered it.
Okay.
Now, I would like to actually bring up some other stuff.
Sure, go ahead.
Did you get a chance to look through any of that document that I sent you disaster cooking. I mean, disaster recipes or recipes for disaster.
I did the playbook for Antifa. I read it. Yes.
Yeah, that's fascinating reading. So,
well, so the audience knows what we're talking about. Tell the audience where you found or where you received that document.
Okay, so I found out about its existence on Carolyn Borisenko's live stream, where she's basically spying on the left.
Right.
Because they're currently having online meetings planning their next thing, which is going to be July 4th. And then a really big thing, July 17th, is when they're planning on having big rallies. Speaking of the left, in China, uncovered by our news media, although they probably know about it, they're having a massive flood that makes the flooding during Katrina look like your sink overflowed.
Do you know what part of China that might be?
It is the central part of China.
Oh, wow.
You can get more details on China Fact Chasers on YouTube.
Okay, good.
And then Cash Jordan is covering more ICE raids. And they raided a construction site in Mobile, Alabama. And it was amazing watching these illegal aliens rappel off the roof on ropes to run away and try to hide. Well, it didn't work.
Yeah.
They were just caught tired.
Well, the one story that let me interrupt you, just stop you right there on the same topic. Did you hear and did you follow the story? I think it was a week ago about the construction site in Kenner, where there were like 60 construction workers, and 18 of them were taken into custody by ICE.
No, I didn't hear about that one.
Oh, this is a great story. We only heard about it once. It was on like for one evening news, and that was it. And this this explains why one of the reasons that illegal aliens come to the United States is they can get work, right?
Yeah.
And they get paid more.
Right.
And theoretically, they're paid more than they would be paid in the country of origin. Okay. And so that's a huge incentive to people. And in the United States, we get paid so much more. And on top of that, because of the benefit package that the last administration provided for illegal aliens, they not only can make money, but their wives who may be at home with children can get additional benefits. They get health care, they get education, the whole 9 yards before even becoming citizens. Okay. So there's a huge amount of money. This story is, I think, explains why. Okay. Now, in Kenner, there was a construction site. It was reported that the operating construction company was Gibbs. Do you know Gibbs?
Yeah. They're actually a pretty reputable company, or at least they were.
Well, they are. They're probably the biggest or second biggest construction company, and they do a lot of state and municipal work, roads. They work for the state, and that's good. And you want to have good people doing that, and I think that's terrific. And I've heard nothing bad about Gibbs, and I don't even know how this might have happened with them. But do you know what?
I can explain that.
Do you know what they were building?
No, by all means, tell me.
A public building. It was the new fire department training center in Kenner.
Oh, okay.
So, and I only use this example just to show you that our laws, our federal laws say you can't hire an illegal alien. You cannot do that. You're not supposed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you got a reputable, good, big construction company, and these guys may have been the best workers around. Who knows? And I'm not disparaging them for their work abilities, but somehow they got by Gibbs, and then they also got by the Jefferson Parish authorities and Kenner.
I can tell you how that happened.
Go ahead.
Gibbs probably used E-Verify. Now, one of the things that the cartels are doing is they're providing fake IDs.
Yes.
And these are usually stolen IDs.
Yep.
And there are consequences to them stealing these IDs.
Right.
Such as a person was denied the purchase of a firearm because somebody had stolen their ID and committed a felony.
Sure. Right. But
so there are issues such as, why is my credit score only 540? I don't have any outstanding loans, and I've
you don't
paid
think
off
you do.
all my credit cards.
You don't think you do, but somebody else with your IDs is running up the tab. Okay, so
precisely
the point is nationwide, Mobile, New Orleans. We had in there was a racetrack in Lake Charles that they arrested a bunch of trainers and the people who worked horrible, hard-working jobs, cleaning out the stalls where the horses were, all this stuff. So it's going on everywhere. And the question is, and I've got a buddy of mine, good friend, he's a great guy, and he asked me the question. He says, why are we going after Juan and Maria? Now, Juan and Maria, he was using those names as the hardworking guy, gets up, goes to work every day, pays his taxes, whatever. Maria raises kids, does, good things, but they're illegal. And he was like, why are we doing this? And I said, because if we don't, there's no law and order. And
that's one good reason.
Well, to me, that's the controlling reason. In my view, is you have a system where we elect people who make rules. Okay, if you think the rule is no good, then change it. If you think the rule is no good, don't interfere with the people enforcing the rule. That's the simplest thing.
Away from Jamal and Danica.
Right.
By hiring Juan and Maria.
All right,
and
thank
Jamal
you.
is willing to work just as hard.
Right.
He might take a different inspiration technique besides constantly threatening him.
Thank you, Matthew. Gotta go. Gotta shove off. Thanks for calling once again. Jack Clegg Show. We'll be back in a few seconds.
AM is the only locally owned and operated talk station in New Orleans. We feature 20 local hosts discussing a variety of topics. In an era when the daily newspaper is being discontinued and our competitors are out-of-state media conglomerates, we ask you, our listeners, to support local programming on a local station. To advertise or sponsor one of our great shows, contact me at jeff@wgso.com or call 504-669-6076.
Hey, fellow patriots, I'm John. And I'm Mike. We're the Jambalaya Boys from the Holy and Patriotic Jambalaya Show. Join us Saturday afternoons from 1 to 2 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM and WGSO.com. God, family, and country.
Hi, this is Rusty from the Olive Branch Cafe. We use only the freshest ingredients, and we prepare everything from scratch 7 days a week. West Bank born, West Bank raised, West Bank proud. The Olive Branch Cafe, Marrero in Algiers.
NHL star Matt Martin for American Humane.
I've had my fair share of bruises and injuries. But for many who put their lives on the line every day, it's not always the injuries you can see that hurt the most. Every single day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. When medications and therapy don't help, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane has created a free guide to help veterans obtain these life-saving animals. For help, please go to AmericanHumane.org.
Social Security is with you through life's journey from birth to retirement. As your life changes year to year, so do your needs. For over 80 years, Social Security has helped to meet
Louisiana Radio Network, I'm Colleen Crane. The Supreme Court postponed ruling on Louisiana's congressional redistricting plan until next term. Loyola University law professor Dane Cialino says the issue will likely be re-argued in October. The delay makes it unclear which way the court may be leaning. He says if a majority supports Clarence Thomas's viewpoint,
we would have a landmark decision that essentially would gut the Voting Rights Act and not allow race to be a factor in drawing congressional districts.
lawmakers approved the Coastal Protection Restoration Authority's $1.98 billion fiscal year 2026 annual plan. Coastal Resource Administrator Greg Gandy says the projects will restore coastal ecosystems and help protect against storm surge.
This annual plan is a generational investment in our future and a commitment to restore our coastal wetlands and build a resilient coast for the people who live and work and play in Louisiana.
LRN.
It's the first day of the first grade, and she found a new best friend. It's a laid-back Sunday afternoon, you wish would never end. The homemade taste of bluebells and good friends gathered round. The good old days are being made right now.
You'll be one smart cookie when you try Bluebell Cookie Cake Ice Cream. A sweet cream ice cream loaded with chocolate chip cookie cake pieces and swirls of chocolate and vanilla icing. This cookie cake ice cream really takes the cake.
The good old days are being made right now. The good old days are being made right now.
Look for Bluebell Ice Cream at your local grocer and pick up your favorite flavor today.
Tired of placing multiple calls to multiple vendors and getting the runaround? Turn to one resource who can get it done. Sir Speedy. We provide a wide spectrum of print, signs, and marketing services, all backed by more than 5 decades of experience. So when you need that new brochure, direct marketing campaign, or signage to promote your brand, give us a call at 504-586-9812 or visit us online at sirspeedyneworleans.com. Everything you need, one resource, Sir Speedy.
You might be afraid to speak out for fear of cancel culture or losing your job. Christian Garrick Show on WGSO is your platform. Noon to 2 weekdays right here on 990 AM WGSO.
Hi, gang. This here's Uncle Jackie from Uncle Jackie's Gumbo. Heard here each and every Sunday live at 5 on WGSO 990 on the AM down New Orleans and WGSO.com. Join us each week as we interview musicians, writers, actors, and artists. Everyone's welcome to Uncle Jackie's Gumbo. Sundays live at 5 on WGSO.com and WGSO 990 on the AM down New Orleans. Uncle Jackie's Gumbo.
Hi, this is Rusty, owner of the Olive Branch Cafe. I'm excited about my new radio show, The Best Bank Hour, every Tuesday at 4. We'll be discussing people, places, events, and issues, all things Best Bank, every Tuesday, 4 p.m. Brought to you by the Olive Branch Cafe with locations in Marrero and Algiers. So join me every Tuesday at 4 p.m. for The Best Bank Hour, right here on WGSO 990.
Join me, BJ Rust, every Saturday night for the Something to Say radio show on WGSO 990 AM and streaming live on WGSO.com.
I'm pet trendologist Charlotte Reed. Listen to the Pet Buzz airing every Saturday at 6 p.m. on WGSO 990 AM, the community voice of the Crescent City.
All right, New Orleans, welcome back to the Jack Clegg Show. This is WGSO 990 AM, WGSO.com, and if you want to watch us, it's YouTube, the Jack Clegg Show. Okay, so essentially what we've been talking about this morning, or a couple of this afternoon, rather, not this morning. We've been talking about a primary decision that you're hearing a lot about on the news today, and that is the Supreme Court's decision to rule that individual judges, federal judges, could not issue universal injunctions stopping the court, stopping the White House and the administration from imposing its policies. Okay, it couldn't be done that universally. That doesn't mean that if I, as a person, came to that court and said this policy is affecting me personally, and enjoined the White House from harming me, that could still be done. That's still viable. But what the judge couldn't say is, you cannot exercise that authority for everyone. It's kind of how our system works. And the judicial branch is not a policy branch. The judicial branch looks at individuals and corporations as individuals and entities, and the harm done to them or the harm they're doing to somebody else. I'm oversimplifying it. But okay, we got another caller that called in. Tom, how are you, Tom?
Well, I don't want to change the subject, so I wanted to talk about something locally in New Orleans here. But
that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, it's been 5 weeks since that garbage truck closed the ramps to I-10 from, one is an exit ramp, one's an on-ramp to I-10.
Sure.
The exit ramp that leads from I-10 to Airline still closed.
Sure.
I pass by it frequently. The only thing I've seen done, besides the assembling of the homeless camp, which, by the way, is being reassembled, not too far away from the original spot, is that they put up scaffolding. Now, I don't care if they're fabricating the parts or whatever whatever excuse they're going to tell you. They haven't been working on it at all. It's been 5 weeks. If you remember, Jack, back in I think it was like 2010, 2015, there was a good section of I-85 that was burned to the ground because they started some kind of fire underneath the elevated portion.
Sure.
It was multi-lane, 8 lanes each way, multi-lane, several sections to the ground. They had it rebuilt in 7 weeks.
Yeah.
Not less.
Yes.
They had it rebuilt in 7 weeks. We're in week 5. They haven't done squat that I could see to get this reopened. I mean, the dysfunction of the government, and this is probably state, not just local, but the dysfunction of this government is just beyond pale. I mean, and nobody seems to talk about it. I
think it's a great point, Tom. It's a great point. And here's a question I would say. Now, if you go to college, all right, and you decide, I want to work hard, I want to make money, do you go to work for a local or state government? Probably not. You go to work for a company, a corporation, you maybe advance your education, legal degree, medical degree, engineering degree, do those things. Okay. So who is it that is taking our jobs in the government sector? Can we make any judgments about them?
You can, but I mean, it's not going to get far.
But it'll make them mad, right? Right. But so they come from among us. They're our neighbors. They're the kids we went to grammar school with, the kids we went to high school with. But what is the incompetency? The incompetency rate, and I'll use that to describe what you're talking about. Why in the world is this happening? Okay, let's just go back. Let's go back to New Year's Eve. Remember that?
Yeah. Right.
Right. Here we pay this woman a substantial amount, 6 figures, way above 6 figures, to come in here and be the superintendent of police. Okay? Now, they do 2 things. They arrest people and they take precautions so people won't get hurt. That's what the police are supposed to do. What did they do on that day? They did nothing. They didn't even know that we already had the bollards in a warehouse. So, okay, these are 2 things that have happened within 5 months of each other. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how I don't know. I wish I knew the answer.
There's the public servants have no incentive to help those that are us, the citizens.
Sure.
In fact, their incompetence is often rewarded. Like Latoya Cantrell, she was reelected. She never got.
You're 100% right. It's
so it's up to the citizens to ring the bell. It's like, no, hold them accountable. I mean, I guarantee nobody's making a phone call anywhere. I've called the DOT the state DOT several times, and they just all right, we'll take it down. Sure, where's that going? Circular file? No, of course.
Goes to the circular file, right?
I mean, what else do they do with it? You don't hear anything about it. There's no accountability on any level of government, including, and I'm a parishioner of I'm a citizen of Jefferson Parish, including those guys. They've mucked up a lot of stuff, and they don't even hold their subcontractors accountable.
What do you think? What do you think the major? I have an idea, but I don't know if it's true. I'm going to ask you. What do you think the one major cause of the, let's call it, the plan to hide and conceal the incompetence? Who's doing that? We always have people that are apathetic. Okay, they don't care what's going on. All right, put them on the side because they are always there. But during when we started as a country, during the wars we've had as a country, during the Civil War, during the Vietnam War, we had journalists who dug down, got information, and this is the kind of stuff they should be just livid about, right?
Absolutely.
That's their job. Yeah. I always thought that was their job when I grew up in Chicago, but there'd be these guys and the Democratic, very powerful Democratic Party in Chicago with Richard J. Daley and all these guys. I mean, they didn't want to get embarrassed by those folks, and those folks kept them on their toes. It seems like, I mean, is it that our social media has watered down the power of these journalists so that even if they say something, 2 days later it's forgotten?
Well, I think that's a very good point, and I also think there's just so much corruption, unaccountability.
Right.
They can only handle so much, and
that might be right. Yes.
In the line to beat up on the media. I mean, I can't throw them far enough off the bridge, but there's so much, and unfortunately, in this market, in the New Orleans market, the media always seems to be buddy. I mean, just look at the Saints. I mean, you don't have to go further than that. They would never say anything bad about the Saints because then they lose access. And in this market especially, it's weird, but it is what it is.
Well, so but my producer and I, during the break, we were talking about the number 9. It's been 6 weeks, right? That number 9 has been out there until today. They got him.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Drew Brees. No,
he was 8. I thought, wasn't he 8? I think Drew Brees was his number 8, or was that Archie Manning was 8?
Yeah, Archie was 8.
Archie was 8. Okay, you're right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
Okay,
and that's funny. The guy they catch him in Hollywood. I mean, these guys are such knuckleheads. They don't know to disappear. Get off the continent. No, they go to Hollywood.
Right. Well, the point I was going to make is, how many reports did you hear last week about the missing guys?
None.
They jumped from one to another, and whatever the story was last week, we can't remember it. Now some people are talking about the dump truck that you talked about, and the garbage truck. But somehow that newspaper that we have, it's just not doing it. So we have the people who are on TV, the journalists. I mean, it should be their job to keep the politicians at least visibly before us. We should know. But I guess, do you think it was because Cantrell was not thrown out of office that people lost the steam?
I I do think that has a whole lot to do with it. I mean, she can get away with what she's getting away with right now.
Man, isn't that something?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, throw your hands up. It's like, what the world? How can you overcome that? I mean, of course, the city council is set squarely on their thumbs.
Right. Well, and it's like it's one other thing I want to make a point here, and that is the mayoral election. What have you heard about the mayoral election? Have you heard
Today I
anything?
3 months and change away. That's what I've heard.
That's it. I have no idea what any of them are going to do. I have no idea why they're going to be any better than the travel monitor that we have. And it seems like, where's the media? I'm the media. I'm not talking about them, but what I'm talking about is I'm not hearing anything about it. So what this means is when people go to vote, the number of people who have decided who to vote for, I'll say less than 20% of our population, because they don't know.
That's generous. Yeah. I would agree.
All right, I got to go. Tom, thanks for calling, buddy.
Take care. Bye-bye.
We'll be back in a moment with the Jack Clegg Show.
You're on WGSO 990 AM. Join me every morning to catch up on what I call the buzz in your backyard and mine. You'll hear some of the most interesting people on the planet from the world of business, politics, sports, and, well, just intriguing people with a story to tell. If you're around, give us a call. Don't worry, I'll spit out the number plenty of times on the air. Let's agree to meet at midnight right here on WGSO 990 AM in New Orleans.
Hey, do you ever wonder who really listens to talk radio? Or even, who is this new Lisa and why are we going live with her? And what does it mean to be unscripted? Hey guys, my name is Lisa Leonardi and I am the new talk show host of Live with Lisa Unscripted. My show is about living our unique NOLA life with a touch of inappropriateness and a ton of side-splitting laughs to get you home every Monday at 4 p.m. here on WGSO 990 AM.
Hey, Mimi, we love Wednesdays, but we're moving to a new time.
Listen to He Said, She Said, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
As usual, we'll be discussing and debating the hot topics.
And taking your phone calls.
You can find out who's right. Of course, that's me.
No, wait, Jeff, I'm never wrong. Remember, happy wife, happy life.
So we'll have a lot to talk about on He Said, She Said.
Listen to the Crew of Crew Air, Wednesdays at 6 p.m.
Right here on WGSO.
Chef Jamie Gwen here. Tune in for delicious conversation and let me feed your soul every Sunday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. right here on WGSO 990 AM, the community voice of the Crescent City.
Get up early on Saturdays and talk LSU athletics with us. Tiger Rag Radio every Saturday morning, 5 to 7 on WGSO, the community voice of the Crescent City.
Aldi and LeBlanc, Radical Radio for Radical Times. Wednesdays at 4 on WGSO. Follow us on X at Aldi Blanc.
That's not America.
If you're suffering with scalp irritation or inflammation of the scalp, maybe flaky scalp or loss of hair, there's a new treatment out there called CeraVe. Call Spot Isabel on Magazine Street, 504-595-5009. $3.99 per session. You'll need about 3 sessions. That's 504-595-5009. Spot Isabel.
NHL star Matt Martin for American Humane.
I've had my fair share of bruises and injuries, but for many who put their lives on the line every day, it's not always the injuries you can see that hurt the most. Every single day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress. When medications and therapy don't help, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane has created a free guide to help veterans obtain these life-saving animals. For help, please go to AmericanHumane.org.
Well, he might. All right, New Orleans. Welcome back to the 8th inning of the Jack Clegg Show. This is the last segment before we leave you for the weekend. And we had another caller call in, Mark from Gretna. Hey, Mark, how you doing?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going pretty good. I just wonder, I had a question that I asked my producer here. We have one of the escapees is still at large, Mr. Groves. Is that his name? Yes, Mr. Groves. And $50,000 is the reward. Can he turn himself in and get the reward? Can he turn himself?
The a good question. I doubt he's going to do it, but what freedom do you really have now that you've broken out?
Oh man!
And you're constantly looking over your shoulder.
Oh,
that everyone's going to rat you out. Anyone you make love to is going to, stick a knife in your back, if you will, proverbially.
Yes, exactly.
It's like you can literally not trust anyone. So you're like in a mental prison, even though you're out.
I got to think. I wonder if you actually had these guys, the 10 of them, and say, was it better outside or was it better inside? How was your mental state while you were out there? Looking over your shoulder, as you say, Mark, and you properly say, even those who you might be intimate with, you have to wonder whether they're going to drop a dime on you.
It's a flex, at that very moment, they're full of adrenaline breaking out. And then they're like, now what?
Now what do I do?
Now we have a big old bullseye on our back. But look, the reason I called up,
Sure.
Great show.
Thanks.
I know I really don't like talking politics. I hate when people say I talk politics. I really don't. I like talking about agendas and
sure
scenarios, that are at play in society and on Earth and in our country, from a standpoint of what we're eating, what they're spraying our skies with, God forbid, what my kids are going to be dealing with, whether it be with the open borders policies or the public schools and this and that, all those factors, the vaccines, that's the kind of stuff I'm interested in.
Sure.
Now, this is kind of political. This is about as close as political as I'll get.
Okay.
And it is like a horror flick to me as I've analyzed this for a long period of my life. A lot of, there's a fine line between us being the greatest ally, between, the United States and Israel. They're our greatest ally.
Sure.
Supposedly, or at least we've been told that. And, then there's a fine line between that and what I feel like is a fleecing of America by our ally. And I think sometimes, look, to me, Trump is part of a play. That's no bag on him. I think Biden is too. I think everyone is. I want to throw out one more thing, and you can look this up yourself. They legalized propaganda in 2012. Now, there was propaganda before that.
Sure.
But via the Smith-Mundt Modernization Act, everyone listening needs to look it up. That was, of course, during Obama's term, and of course, there's been propaganda since. They've legalized propaganda in America. So I bring that up to many
Mark, I'm going to ask you for myself and for the listeners, define what you mean by propaganda. And I'm not being a smart ass.
That could be anything. So like when me and my wife were watching the first week of the lockdowns for COVID,
sure,
we saw CNN, which again, I watch both. If I do watch the news, which is rare, I put it on because they're like literally locking everything down, New World Order, martial law, the stuff you hear about.
Sure, yes.
And all that kind of stuff. And then like I'm seeing in New York City, they said there's body bags in the street. People are dying so rapidly that, there's body bags in the street. And they show these people in hazmat suits carrying bags. I mean, I turned to my wife. I said, look, they legalized propaganda in 2012 and before, really.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be popcorn kernels in there. There could be confetti in there for all I know.
Exactly.
Now, same thing with this back and forth. To me, this is Ric Flair Savage. The whole wrestling optics. To me, I really do think
you might be right.
Yeah. Now this is why I call this whole Zionism, this whole greatest ally thing, such a weird, unusual topic. Okay.
Sure.
It's the only subject that is so taboo that if you question it, you're deemed an anti-Semite. It's the only topic that, they are ushering in anti-Semitism bills over that you can't question Israel. It's the only subject that if you denounce the Holocaust in Europe, that you could be arrested. Now, let me take it a step further. In America, since 1948, okay, so right now we're giving $12 million a day to Israel, okay? Now, and this is why I say we're getting fleeced in some ways, possibly, because $12 million a day is our toxic water in Louisiana, toxic water in Jackson, Mississippi, toxic water in Flint, Michigan, infrastructure crumbling.
Yeah.
It's like, are they our greatest ally, or are we getting fleeced to death? Now, let me finish with this. Anyone who has researched Michael Collins Piper, He was kind of a truther on Zionism.
Mhm,
He had a
mhm.
radio program.
Yes.
He died under unusual circumstances, and he talked about this subject a lot. William Cooper wrote "Behold a Pale Horse," died he got cornered and killed.
Yes.
Now, one of the best examples, and one that's kind of playing out right now, Thomas Massey hasn't taken any AIPAC money. He's being demonized by Trump and everyone who took money from AIPAC.
Right.
That he's the enemy of the state. That Israel's our greatest ally. Marjorie Taylor Greene, same thing. She's saying America first, not Israel, not Zimbabwe, not Croatia. America first. Our tax dollars should go to America. And I'll finish with this. Jim Traficant, God rest his soul, congressman from Ohio.
Yeah.
He mouthed off on this subject. You could YouTube it. Him and Sean Hannity went toe to toe. He said AIPAC lobby has taken over control of Washington, D.C., and I'm tired of it. And Sean Hannity called him an anti-Semite.
Well,
he was arrested.
Mhm.
That was a warning shot. They've killed Thomas Massey's wife already. Okay, Thomas Massey's
didn't
wife
know
is
that.
dead.
I didn't know that.
It's a warning shot. It's a warning shot to keep your mouth shut. And now in the Mossad, the CIA of Israel is very powerful. I'll finish with this. I know the show's almost over. Jim Traficant was arrested. He got out. That was supposed to be a warning shot. That was supposed to say, look, keep your mouth shut. You just went to jail. They let him out. He mouthed off again. He died in a quote-unquote tractor accident. All I'm saying is this is a real-life horror movie playing out that anyone who questions Zionism in Washington, D.C. gets targeted. Thomas Massey's getting targeted right now. Jim Traficant got targeted. Michael Collins Piper got targeted. William Cooper got targeted. I mean, it's insane.
Mark, you've given me something to do.
Jim Traficant,
I'm gonna
research that.
those
Research
names.
Jim Traficant.
I'm going to listen and I'm going to look. It's an interesting look. Do I think there are authority figures and powerful figures in the United States that would do that? The answer is yes, of course there are. Okay, is that agenda? I don't like you, therefore you're an anti-Semite. I'll call you names. Name calling works here. Racism, all of them, they all work. So I'd love to talk again with you. Please call the show again another time. We got to go. Mark, have a good weekend. All right. Thank you, folks, for listening in. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to you on the 4th of July next Friday. Yeah. We'll bring fireworks with us. All right, folks, have a good weekend and a good 4th of July. Bye.
Hey, this is Kevin Love from the Cleveland Cavaliers. At times, life can feel scary, and we can get overwhelmed by anxiety. Mindfulness can help you get through these tough times. My nonprofit is partnering with Headspace to offer free